recording, and this session will be recorded. The slides will be shared and be able to be accessed on our website, internationalacac.org. Today is a very special forum. It is a forum that has been come together very quickly in response to the U.S. Immigration Executive Order issued on January 27th. It is a forum that you will see will have a chance for folks that are here to express their concerns, share what's on their mind. It's a chance for people to come together as a community. This is a session that we will be offering in multiple ways by which you can provide a voice and have an interactive element. And so for a moment, I just wanted to make sure that people are familiar with the control panel and some of the means by which you might be able to communicate, participate in this session today. So on the control panel, all of you should have a control panel on somewhere on your screen. And in that control panel, there should be I believe, a way by which you can raise your hand. So if you search on the control panel there, there's a little hand icon. You can even all practice now, just like in a classroom, practice raising your hand. There we go. We see some folks figuring out the control panel. That's right, raise your hands. Very good. So in some cases, we may ask for folks to a question or have their question answered, so you can raise your hand just like in a class. And just like a good teacher, I can ask you all to be quiet, and I can then drop all of your hands. Also on your control panel, you will find a question box. And throughout the morning, the afternoon, the evening today, we will go to you to give you a chance to ask some questions, to post some thoughts, and we'll be using that primarily in the question tab. There is a large number of people here participating today, well over 100 different members and community folks in the community. So we will ask for your patience, and when we are trying to get through questions and trying to go through, obviously, we won't be able to address everyone's concerns today, but we're going to try to do our best. And finally, of course, we are members of International ACAC. We're experts in international admissions and counseling. We are, however, not experts in foreign policy or, say, what's going on in the mind of Donald Trump. So if you are looking for answers in that regard, what is the future going to hold? I'm not quite sure necessarily even he knows what the future is going to hold or what's going on in his mind. But we can say that this is a space for us to pose questions and to have a chance to build this community. And with that, I want to pass it on to introduce the panelists and give everyone a chance to introduce themselves, who will be talking and sharing with you today.
Thanks, Aaron. My name is Kristen Driesen. I'm the president of International ACAC, and I want to add my welcome to Aaron's to all of our members who are joining us in this conversation this morning, evening, and afternoon.
You would like me to call you Kristen Driesen and Ashley Sheehy, and I want this.
Sorry about that.
And I'm Megan Dangermond, their Vice President for Membership out of Tufts University, currently reporting from my kitchen where I read your children's applications.
Hello guys, I am Alice Langdale. I'm a high school guidance counsellor from Marlborough College in England in the UK, and I am coming to you from my classroom in Marlborough.
And good evening, guys. My name is Wilson. I am the high school guidance counselor at the Yongsan International School of Seoul here out in Seoul, Korea. Coming to you from my bedroom, I guess. I did want to go ahead and transition us into just briefly going over in terms of how tonight kind of came about a little bit, especially for us. Prior to any of these current issues, Alice and I, we were tasked originally to go ahead and start a new initiative for International ACAC in identifying regional groups in our affiliate around the world for a variety of purposes, one being providing support for any kind of regions that are in need. And so seeing that this was obviously a new and a hot issue affecting our particular group in a region within our membership, we were approached to specifically be working on this webinar today, and this is how kind of things got started. And I do have to go ahead and say that frankly I'm very impressed. I'm quite proud actually of how our leadership team, our president, our VP, executive board members, in mobilizing so quickly and coming together for this purpose, this common purpose of honestly, going about our affiliate's mission of facilitating global interaction, promoting professional standards, valuing diversity and inclusion. And this is kind of the things that we're dealing with right now that are being in question or being violated. And so this is why we're meeting today. Aaron definitely mentioned a few things that, today our primary goal is to hear from you guys, our attendees. So whether you're someone that may not be directly affected by the executive order to someone that is frankly in the thick of things, we want to hear your questions, concerns. We have questions, concerns, frankly speaking, as well. We definitely don't want to communicate, like Aaron said, that we have any or all of the answers. But we are recording this. We are taking notes. The board is looking to get a better handle on the concerns that are out there and how to focus their attention. But if anything, we're hoping that we can have a hearty meeting, right? A discussion that is centered around support, while ultimately leaving this webinar feeling encouraged about the community that has gathered here today. So, that being said, we have a loose agenda that's up on your screen for tonight. We will be taking a look at it, and to mention that, I do want to go ahead and also mention that we are fortunate to have with us tonight members of the leadership and executive board of International ACAC, as well as members of NACAC. And so welcome to everybody, and feel free to chime in. So that being said, yeah, the agenda for today, update from the board. We're going to go ahead and ask some questions in terms of how the affiliate can offer practical support, and then we'd like to go ahead and finish up with some Q&A at the very end. But Aaron, if you want to go ahead and advance and take it from there.
Yes. All right. So as we said, what we're gonna do off the top here is, if you've ever attended International AC webinar, you know that we do like to do polls. So we're going to start us off with a couple polls, and you'll probably be familiar with. We'll start off easy. And we do want to get a sense of where people are joining us from in the world today. So this is the classic question: where are you joining us from? And here you are. From what region of the world are you joining us from today? So if you need to look at your newspaper or check your watch, I don't know if it's a GPS watch, that might help. That might not help at all if you don't have a GPS watch. But we've got about 85% of people here. Maybe there's some people who are a little bit lost in the world, but there we are. All right, looks like we've got most people responded to where they are in the world. This probably has a lot to do with time zones. And there we are. Look at that. A good number of folks from North America. I wonder how many of those people are from the West Coast, like me, and where it's very early. But good to see that we also have really largely representation from nearly every part of the world here today. All right, now we do have a couple polls here that we just get a sense of the group today. Please let us know your member type. So we are interested to know what side of the desk you are on. So take a moment. This is where you may need to check your business card. So to open up your wallet, look at your business card. It'll be interesting to see if more people know where they are in the world, or if more people know what their job is in the world. So this will be interesting. Almost a few more people know their job. Okay. All right. Close the poll and share the results. And looks like interesting that we have a slightly larger representation from the university and college side. And so this will be interesting. It's certainly a topic like this impacting university members in terms of how they can support their students, prospective students that are coming from these impacted countries. So we'll see how we can resolve that in our questions and our discussions today. And then one last question is really, what population are you most concerned about? So this question is really focused on the students themselves and this topic itself. And so who in this topic that we're talking about, discussing, and we're considering these past several days are the one that's really burning in your minds? A couple of more seconds here for people to think about this. I'm sure, and no doubt most people are probably worried about all or thinking about all three of these types, which is the one that perhaps is the highest of on your list here. All right, looks like most people have responded. Interesting enough, more people, in fact, the percentage of the group have responded to this question than any of the other questions. And here we have interesting split here. So, but it looks like the majority, 50% plus 7, would be the ones that are considering most directly right now, those that are applying and will be coming to universities and colleges around the world in September. All right. So we're going to hide those, and then we're going to get back into, where did my PowerPoint go? Another question for the audience. And what we wanted to do here, we are going to have a chance, we're going to have a couple of more panelists speak for a few moments. But before we do that, we do want a chance to give you, everyone here, a chance to just frame the Q&A that will be happening in a short time, 5 or 10 minutes. And so to do that, in your questions field on your control panel, share with us one short thing, one theme, one main topic that you're interested in. Could be a short question. We may not be answering these questions right now, but these are going to be a way for us to perhaps frame the discussion. We suspect that with well over 100 to 150, 100, 200 people participating today, it's obviously going to be very difficult to do a full Q&A with everyone. So when we do come to the Q&A, we just want to hopefully frame all of the questions that do come in, or the topics at the very least, into some themes. So if there is one particular concern or a topic or a question, this is where in the questions box, if we'll just give folks a moment to write those in. And you can ask in your questions box. Here's where we'll ask folks to type in some questions. I say we won't be reading these out right now, but we will do behind the scenes over the next little bit is just collating those and seeing if there is some common themes. So we will pass on the slides on to the next folks. Kristen will talk a little bit, but as I say, this is your moment in the next few minutes. If you think of something, again, these questions the whole audience can't see, but if it's a topic or it's a theme you have a question about or thinking about, when it does come to Q&A, we'll try to group our time, organize our time around these, just a way to organize our time. All right, so give folks a few minutes to do that. And Kristen, you want to take it and share a little bit in terms of the board's perspective and some of the identified some of the aspects that International ACAC is taking at this time in results to this topic.
Thanks, Aaron. Happy to. So I think like most people who are interested in what's going on, we at the board are monitoring the news coming out of Washington quite closely so that we can stay abreast of what's going on. I think we can all agree that the news is coming kind of thick and fast, and just trying to make sense of what's going on. And as Aaron and Wilson mentioned, we are not foreign policy or immigration experts, but trying to take that information in and kind of make sense of what is being said and how this may affect our students moving forward. As Wilson mentioned, we are going to be taking a close look at the issues that are being brought up today in the conversation, as well as the issues that are popping up on the Facebook board, emails that are coming up to us directly through the headquarters in Arlington, and really trying to focus on the things that are most actively and directly impacting our members and the students that they work with. As Wilson mentioned, and Alice mentioned, I believe, we did ask the two of them to accelerate some work that had already begun with regard to our regional networks and our regional support for our members in different parts of the world, obviously with a focus on those members who are working with students coming out of this part of the world. I think everyone saw the statement that we put out over the weekend, along with putting this webinar together. Looking a little bit more long-term, we are mobilizing our forces to join NACAC's Advocacy Day in March, which is a day where government relations chairs and leadership of the 23 state and regional affiliates take time to meet with senators and congressmen and women to share concerns that are specific to the affiliate. We will be mobilizing on that front, and as we know which representatives we will be lobbying, we will be sharing that with our membership. Our Government Relations Committee, which is headed up by Juan Camilo Tamayo, our Vice President there, is keeping in close contact with the various other organizations and professional affiliates who are also working with their members whose students are impacted. So close contact with NACAC, with ACRO, with NAFSA, with the other affiliates, and working with his committee to monitor that information and share out pertinent pieces of info as it becomes available so that our members have access to it as well. There will likely be more to come as the days unfold. As we've seen, it's a very volatile kind of time in Washington, and it seems that you know, every morning when we wake up there might be something different that we have to kind of digest and understand. And like the rest of really like the rest of the world, we are doing our best to stay on top of that for you. And we welcome you to use not just this forum this morning, but also to reach out to us. As I said, there are concerns that you're seeing, please post them in the Facebook group. If you're not active in the Facebook group, please email us, admin at oacac.com. That'll go to main headquarters and filtered out to the right people to respond or act on your concerns or questions. We welcome that. We want to hear from you. So I thank you in advance for the discussion we're going to have this morning, and I want to turn it to Megan, who has a little demographic information for us.
Thanks, Kristen. And one additional sort of update, Education USA obviously being our most sort of enmeshed point within the U.S. government and sort of our link to the State Department. Please know that the Executive Board has made every effort to reach out to them in an effort to gain more information to share with all of you. At this point, their current comment on the situation is that they are continuing to work with students in their centers, and they are unfortunately not able to say much more beyond that. So we're using that as a point of reference and trying to get more information for all of you. But they are, it seems, a bit bound by the fact that they work for our government. So there's that. On our side of the house, within the International ACAC, just to give you guys a quick sense of who is within the organization, we have only 2 members right now who are working at institutions based in the countries that are listed in the ban. One in the Sudan, one in Somalia. These aren't places that, according to Open Doors, are sending immense numbers, particularly at the undergrad level. We would love to engage with more members from that zone. I'll get to that in a second. But right now we have about 2 members who are very explicitly affected. We have another 9 in what I would consider the second tier of affected zones. There's been lots of conversation about other countries that might be next. Egypt being among them, you know, a few other places. So we've got another 9 members who are located in those places. I know this is a lot of speculation. We don't know what's going to happen, but just sort of forecasting out. We have another 74 members who are from both Muslim majority countries and countries that are within the similar geographic zone in sort of the MENA, Middle East, North Africa area. So that's going to be a slightly larger group, and we have an additional 35 members who are located in Muslim majority countries that are not in the same physical zone. So we've got our ears up for them as well. I also looped into that group our members from Mexico, who are unrelated religiously, but deeply entrenched in the snares of our government at the moment. So figured it couldn't hurt to just add them to our list of members that we're thinking about and sort of working for and looking out for. So that's a quick membership spread. I'll remind all of you if it seems concerns about current applicants are top on your list. We have 159 members from institutions located outside the United States. There's a resources page being built out on our website specific to this area of concern. We're going to be uploading a fresh PDF version of the member registry that is specific to non-US university representatives so that you can quickly access individuals with their contact information who are active members of the organization located outside the US as you advocate on behalf of your students. So do be on the watch for that. I'm thrilled that Wilson and Alice are able to sort of curate this conversation. Again, they're working on building kind of regional networks around the world as we hope to address the needs and skills of our members around the world. Our overarching goal being that we can assemble groups who are specifically interested, either physically located in these areas or interested in issues affecting these areas, who can support each other in the day-to-day and on the ground, and also serve as a resource to the board, both funneling up information, providing resources to other members, advocating on behalf of the region. So that's all in the long term. And Alice and Wilson are going to be working on that. You'll have the opportunity, hopefully in the next week or so, if you'd like to be engaged in this conversation in an ongoing way, to identify yourself as someone who, regardless of your physical location, is invested in issues of Middle East, North Africa. And Alice and Wilson are going to deal with some of the logistics on getting you together and continuing that conversation. As far as pure membership, if anyone is aware of professionals in these zones who could use the resources of this organization, we are going to have a membership drive that runs concurrent with the planning of the regional institutes that are coming up, one of which is located in the Middle East. So we were going to be reaching out to members in that zone anyway, but if people are aware of individuals who should be funneled towards the organization, who would benefit from what we have to offer, we have lots of resources available outside of the summer conference that are available remotely at any time of the year. So please don't hesitate to be in touch. If you'd like to get someone connected to the organization, we'd be more than happy to work with them and get them engaged as members. So with that, I will pass it to Aaron, Wilson, Alice, question mark.
So yeah, so what we can do here is we have, let me just move on to the next slide here and remind ourselves our next topic. So what I think to start off the Q&A, Simon, Wilson, I should say, is this a good chance to maybe open with this question? Because I think it may be most appropriate to really hear from any either counselors or perhaps university folks that are actually working with students, so we can actually get a chance. So I should have also mentioned earlier that we do want to hear actually audio physically here from folks, and so we do have the ability to unmute individuals. So this is where if there's anyone that's comfortable with jumping in, you won't have to go on the webcam, but if you do have a microphone and are in a position where you are able to share a little bit about a student you might be working with in your school or in universities, if you're working with a student who's applied and you're thinking about how you can support them or issues that they're just sharing with you, even if, again, if you don't have answers, perhaps if you can raise your hand here, and what we can do is we'll unmute you. And it looks like, all right here. So I see Kameli has put up her hand. So we're going to unmute Kameli. And Kameli, you can introduce yourself. Let us know that you're on, and you can share. Go ahead, Kameli.
Hi, can you hear me? Right, this is Chameli. I'm at African Leadership Academy in Johannesburg, South Africa. We have a Somali student currently at Brown, and a Libyan student who's been admitted ED to the U.S. school. And the question that I'm getting is, should the ED student be applying to a non-U.S. school as a safety? And
Chameli, how is, and before we kind of respond to that, in general, I suppose any other comments or what else is going on in the students' minds at this point?
So for the student who's currently in the U.S., he's been in close communication with the university. They've explicitly told him he should not leave the country. So we're gonna have to figure something out for him over the summer. For the student who's waiting to apply, well, we have to wait till the 90 days is up to see, what his options are. He is not interested in any other university other than this one. So as you can imagine, he's devastated. He's trying to be optimistic, but he's absolutely devastated. And the family's just anxious about what happens now.
Right. Does anyone want to comment on that? I mean, I certainly, in terms of other university options, I'm sure Kristen mentioned, I was looking at the questions, but of course, the International ACC does have a website which lists the other universities, both in the United States, which may not be in very much help, but also, of course, universities in Europe, in UK, in Canada, that are accepting applications still at this time. And so that, safety universities, no matter what the situation in the world may be, is always a good option to be considering. And I see, does anyone else on the panel want to comment to any of Chameli's comments? We do have a couple more people raising hands, and they may also be able to share some of their experiences with working with students right now.
I just ask, because as we had so many people joining this webinar who are from universities in North America, I would, not that we can find answers today, but it'd be very helpful for us to collate some sort of comment from you, if you haven't already done that, as to what your position is for students in a similar position as the student we've just heard about. So that would be my first thought about how we could perhaps move forward with this sort of comment. We all know what it's like to work with these young people who have got their heart set on one place. So I suppose the other thing that might be helpful for us to open discussion, as I say, not answers now, but you talked about safety. Your point there was about a safety school, but I wonder where we stand with deferments as well, and with postponements of those positions. Obviously, there are huge logistics to bear in mind there, but I wonder how flexible universities may feel that they could be in this scenario. Maybe that's a comment that in the next week or so, Wilson and I maybe be able to collate where you stand, and we can put that on a central point, which is most obviously for us right now the website.
Well, I see Lynn Larson has raised her hand here, so she may be able to comment on one of those topics here. So let me just, Lynn, if you're interested in being unmuted, you're about to be unmuted, and go ahead. We can hear you now.
Good morning.
Introduce yourself, please.
Thank you so much for putting this together. I do have a couple of comments. The safety issue is...
Lynn, can you just be sure to introduce yourself? Everyone may not know what institution you work with.
Lynn Larson, UC Berkeley. It wasn't our students who caused the violence last night on campus, so I just want to let everybody rest assured on that. So the first thing is safety. This is something that we are working on every single day to ensure that students and families know that we are in a bubble, being in California and then being at Berkeley. There are so many other institutions around the country that are also doing their best to make sure that students are safe, that they're welcome, that we are working with them day and night to make sure that whatever happens in the next 90 to 400 days will not interrupt their studies. As to deferrals, I know that there's a lot of schools that are going to be accepting deferrals, including Berkeley, knowing that there is concern out there. We're concerned on behalf of the students and families who are either already on campus or who are thinking about applying to campus.
Thank you, Lynn.
So I have one quick question, if I can go ahead and jump in, Aaron. As a high school counselor, ever since the executive order went out, there was a part of me that was extremely encouraged by the flood of emails that I got from a lot of university admissions offices communicating the same thing, saying that they are not in support, obviously, of the executive order, and that they are going to do whatever they can to help, support these students. And so the fact that they were out there, and I was getting so many of them very encouraged, but a lot of the questions that we've been receiving so far are like, so what's the next step? What are some of the things that are going to be doing practically from the university perspective? And then you sharing what you were sharing is extremely helpful. We're hearing that from you here on this live webinar, but is there going to be, do you happen to know of a timeline, or if any universities can chime in of any timeline of when some of these things might, for example, what you shared, when do you think that might be communicated in a form of, of a post that's online, or emails similar to like what we've already received?
So Wilson, I see a couple of the university folks here putting their hands up, so we'll get to those folks here. And I just from a outsider's Canadian perspective, perhaps, is just to say that in some cases where we do, maybe it's important to, as difficult as maybe, to try to keep a level head in some of these situations and recognize that as drastic as this policy is, it is perhaps to find a way to think about it in terms of the fact that it is 90 days, that he himself, Donald Trump, has tried to backpedal a little bit, it sounds like, and mention that there's a screening, it's not a ban. And so for those students that have applied and are worried, that's where we can perhaps try to find some hope in that, and that at the end of the day, he may recognize that this is a business as well for many universities, and for him to outright ban all of students and to expand this even further might be something. So for these, that's maybe one way we can try to help to find some light for these students. But I will let John Wilkerson, who I know may have some comments in regards to the university perspective as well. Here, John, if you're available to comment on this, I'm going to unmute you now.
Sure thing. Thank you, Aaron. This is John Wilkerson with Indiana University. Wilson, to your question, I've been communicating with several colleagues at peer universities who, similar to Lynn, are having conversations about deferment, application fee waivers, possible waivers or deferment of enrollment deposits for students who are impacted. It could be helpful to know, those of us on the university side already know these tend to be slow-moving engines, and so they're conversations that are being had with budget offices and provosts and things like that, really just about the logistics of how we do it. I would be very surprised if most universities aren't having those conversations. We anticipate going out with messaging to our international students in those impacted areas within the next week and a half. And again, just kind of letting them know that this is a fluid situation. Yes. to your point with these 90 days. But several of us, I'll also mention, several universities have created on their international page or their admissions page landing sites that are kind of a watch this space for continued updates. That's something that we're communicating with students as well. So,
thank you,
thanks.
John. So I see a few more folks. Now a few more folks their arms might be getting tired because their hands have been up this whole time. So I do want to say we're trying to get to folks. Rebecca, you put up your hand earlier when this question first came up. So I'm going to if you have a brief comment to share on this, then I'll unmute you here, Rebecca, and we'll try to get to everyone who is commenting on this topic. Go ahead, Rebecca, and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm from Education Matters in Zimbabwe. And I think I just wanted to add the refugee side to it, because we work with refugee students. They're not from the 7 listed countries, but they are affected. And they're most affected in that right now, the refugee students we have in the United States are being told not even to leave the state that they're in, let alone to, their universities have said, like, stay put, stay low key, stay low level, don't apply for summer internships, don't apply to go home, obviously, to leave the country for study abroad, anything like that, but even to sort of work outside of the campus environment. They've been told really to stay low key, so they're pretty distraught about that. But we do have a refugee student applying right now, and his big question is anyone going to take my application seriously? I submitted 5 applications, but would any university now take the risk on it? I'm not an ED student, I'm not in yet, I'm an A student, I've applied. Am I not going to be, are our beautiful funding partners in the US, universities, not going to take a risk on me because they don't want to accept someone who might not get a visa? So does that sort of doom me, and should I start looking for, because now you've missed most of the application deadlines if you're looking for full funding, so you're in a tight spot of not being able to say, oh, let me try Canada and the UK and other places because those funding MasterCard deadlines and such are passed. So that's just another perspective from these kids. It's not just the 7 countries that's getting a lot of play, but kids who are stateless from any country.
Yes, Rebecca, that's both troubling questions, troubling times. I don't know if we have answers for those things, but those are well received.
Aaron, I'll chip in very
please.
Quickly. I'm at Tufts, and from our institutional standpoint, there was an email that went around about, are there any legal issues with taking students who are impacted? And the stand we took, which I think closely aligns with the statement we put out, and we know lots of other institutions in the U.S. have put out similar statements of support for our students and support for access to education, is that we will be reviewing those students exactly as we always have, and would feel comfortable, confident, and proud to offer them a seat, even if it meant them not coming to campus for, someone was talking about a 2-year deferral, and obviously the following joke was, well, we might want to make it a 4-year deferral because things are a little unpredictable stateside. But I think there is an institutional will behind the public comments that have gone out to continue to do our work the way that we've done it and to give access to students who are most deserving. I know it's hard for students to feel that and believe it in moments like this, but I think this is part of the beauty of seeing this community come together and seeing so many university representatives. These are the people who are hitting admit on your kids' applications, and they're here wanting to have this conversation. So I think that's a testament to the desire to continue to be able to offer those students seats. I think it's been good to hear a lot of flexibility from the university folks on the idea of deferrals. Circling back to Chumeli's question about a kid in ED, I think flexibility with students who applied ED that will understand if they need to look elsewhere, because the priority is to get them an education. So I think we can have some faith in the humane nature of our colleagues on both sides of the desk.
And we're seeing some comments come in here as well as to not only be considering non-U.S. institutions outside, so again, the UK's, the Canada's, the Europe's, but also U.S. universities that do have international campuses. So the NYU Florence, for Yale, NUS, and such, and those institutions that may have perhaps more scholarship or financial assistance than a non-U.S. institution may be. So really expanding this as a chance to be thinking about fit. And really trying to find a way to broaden students' minds in some of these options, which I know is a difficult thing to be doing the best of times. So we may just, let's see here, I see Nicole and Osmond, your hands have been up, so if we do have a moment here, Nicole, if you want to make a quick comment. Again, we've got lots of folks to go through, so we appreciate it when people can make their comments relatively brief. But Nicole Campbell, if you, pardon me, Nicole, go ahead. You're unmuted. Just introduce yourself, please. Oh, looks like Nicole, we may have lost you. This is like a radio show. Osmond, if you're available, Osmond, go ahead. You're live.
Hello, my name is Osman. I'm a high school counselor from Khartoum, Sudan. Now we have like many students who are affected who are planning to go study in the United States, but the one major case we have now is that one student who's been already studying in the United States for over a year now. He's been in his Christmas vacation outside the country. Now he's outside, he's not allowed to come in. And many students heard that case from that student, and now people are just, diverting. We're trying to get more different options for them. And one thing that is quite hard for us as high school counselors is that we've been working for like over a year into so many options in the United States. Also, it's not as easy as it is to get diverse collection as it is in the United States. So we'll be actually asking students to, drop one semester so we can even work on getting them admissions in the United States, not in the United States, maybe in like United Kingdom, in Canada, and other places. So my question for you is that, do you think I should be advising my student to look for other options than the United States, or to hold for 3, 4, 5 months? I know it's quite complicated. People might not know this, but what's your opinion on this?
Go ahead.
Sorry, that's actually harping back around again to that idea of a safety option, isn't it? To a backup to your original plan. And I wonder if we have anybody else who could talk about that. We've opened up a little bit on ED and the flexibility with the existing financial situations, but I wonder whether or not anybody would like to share a view on whether we feel, or whether you are advising your students to take safety options. It'd be nice to know from our counselling, from the college side, from the high school side rather, whether or not they are advising their students already to look at safety schools, or whether or not they are holding their breath and hoping for the best over the next 90 days. I think that might be a helpful indication for us all.
Well, we have Patrick, who I know is on the counselor side. Patrick, you're going to be unmuted, and if you have a comment on this, or feel free to make a comment now. You're unmuted. Patrick, are you there? Wilson, did you have a comment on this?
I just wanted to go ahead and say, kind of similar to what was just mentioned, a lot of times when anything comes up, For example, issues with standardized testing. It's always helpful hearing directly what information from testing centers or colleges directly to counselors in terms of here's how the information we would like you guys to disseminate to your students. And so we're seeing a lot of information that's going directly from the colleges to the students directly, but kind of like the question that was just asked, just kind of similarly following up on that, what are statements, what are suggestions that on a formal front that we can go ahead and help colleges on our end to go ahead and disseminate the information, right? So pretty much the same question, but just knowing the value in that and sharing that information with counselors and knowing that we can go ahead and are in contact with the students and how we can go ahead and share that information directly.
And so I've seen some good questions coming in here, and I know recognizing there are a lot of university representatives participating. A couple of questions around summarizing and sharing with university leadership and good perspectives and approaches to that. So of course, depending on where you are in your university hierarchy, it may be in many cases that you need executive level guidance, or they are the ones that are able to do lobbying, and in such that is something where bringing together experts. I know at University of British Columbia, where I work, our president has created a task force, and they are using a variety of different units expertise on this. And so this is where folks in this conversation, you can supply data, you can supply statements from other institutions, you can supply comments from counselors on this end, how they're impacted, and finding different voices. But if there's any comments from university sides on how they are communicating some of this with their own stakeholders, feel free to chime in, because I think that's an important topic on this as well. And while we're on the topic of universities, and there's also some questions just about applicants and their future, and looking to recruitment in the future, the image of US as a safe place in general. So this is not only, of course, to those students that are impacted directly, but I can only imagine that just the view in general of the United States, perhaps for international students from a variety of backgrounds, might be impacted by this. And so folks are just wondering about the future of recruitment, about ways in which the image of the United States might be impacted. No easy answers to this, but something that's certainly on our minds. And perhaps all I can comment on in that, I'll give it to open if anyone has any comments on just sort of the future recruitment views of the United States, that using your own students as ambassadors, should they be out there in the world. This is a great chance for using students as ambassadors, should they be traveling, and also, again, trying to think of this as maybe some way of cooler heads may prevail in the end, and the sun will rise, perhaps not 90 days from now in further time. But if there's any comments from the university side on any of these topics, sharing and summarizing, advocating within your own leadership, and also just comments on recruitment in the future, feel free to jump in on this topic. We'll just give a moment here to see if anyone raises their hands and wishes to comment.
Yeah, and Aaron, with us being about 45 minutes in, there's a lot of questions, there's a lot of unknowns, there's a lot of, what do we tell our kids? And unfortunately, it seems no one in the room knows. One thing we can do is pool our resources as a community and try to move forward. So Kristen shared some of the initiatives that are going on in the background. I would love to use some of the remaining time to hear from our participants if anyone has thoughts on what would be helpful, or ideas that they think might work, or solutions that they've come to with their own students, or university recruitment plans for the spring that have changed, and why you think others might be able to learn from them. We'd love to hear a kind of more solution-driven, kind of action item-oriented ideas from the crowd as people are able to chip up or to sort of toss their hands in the air. So Aaron, I would love to have, if anyone's got ideas or suggestions, I think now would be a good time to capture some of those.
So I'll read a few of those that are coming in here. So Lynn has commented, at Berkeley we have an international group that meets once a month. Today's our meeting and agenda has changed to what we can do to help students. So again, the sort of the thought of a university task force on this. Another comment from universities to the counselors on the university side. This is Caitlin. She's saying how they love receiving and important information from the counselors. So please, counselors that are in touch, that are here, please be sharing that information directly with universities, some of those universities that you're seeing a lot of your students apply to. That information is then used as fodder, and it's applied with the executive level, so we can have a better chance of making decisions and supporting the university's goals moving forward. The NACAC will hold its annual advocacy meeting on March 5th to 6th, and this is a unique opportunity to engage with NACAC leadership. And so your voice here is going to be especially important this year, since there will be, NACAC does a role as a large national organization. They may have one of the better voices collectively in lobbying and such. I'm just going through some of these comments, again, with a reminder to task-oriented activities. Proactively reaching out to exchange partners and high school counselors with whom you have close relationship to share university's commitment to diversity, inclusion, and international students. And so this is where I think university side, many of us will have contacts, good council relationships, whether it's even through the Facebook forum and Facebook group, but sharing some of those actions, because right now, even if it's not necessarily official yet, perhaps some of those more back channel communications that we have with as a community, you could be reaching out to your counselors and just sharing this, as I think there is a lot of unknowns at this point, but even sharing what can be done, what's going on the campuses, what's being known, it can be helpful. A comment here from Jorge Delgado. I think many of us on the university side feel confident about admitting qualified and affected students, but there is still the unknown about the legality of issuing the I-20. So part of this is, unfortunately, we may offer admission to students in these countries, but the visa issues are still unknown. Comments from Bridget is perhaps Education USA could share information about what they are hearing in terms of issuance of F1 visas, not just for those 7 countries. And so Megan mentioned off the top that the Education USA office is in a bit of a difficult situation. They may, for one, may know little more than we know, but also because of the fact that they are a government organization entity in the long run, they have their hands behind in some respect as well. Any other panelists who want to jump into any of these comments that I'm reading through here?
Well, we're wondering if we can go ahead and actually hear, have any comments coming from counselors at all in terms of some of the advice that they are able to go and share, boots on the ground.
Or even hands up.
Yeah, so we've got, I've been going through those. We have Dea Dresner. Let's just put up her hand here. Dea, I'm going to unmute you if you want to provide a comment here to this. Dea, go ahead. You're unmuted. You're live.
Hello, thank you. I'm Dea Dresner. I'm the Executive Director of the Leonard Education Organization, and we focus on supporting the undergraduate education of Palestinian youth to study in the U.S. So we secure full ride scholarships from colleges, negotiate them, and manage and care for the kids on every level when they come and throughout their whole time in this country. So as Palestinian youth, you can imagine our organization has all kinds of challenges. We've been dealing with this for many years. We found the colleges have been very helpful in accepting our youth late arrival on campus. I think in this situation, this is going to be very important that it's considered. I did speak to somebody in Washington this past week who told me currently, as we're not a target, we should consider that the visa process application will take longer, the vetting process will take longer. So I would request possibly the colleges considering sending the I-20s early to a lot of our youth so that we can get started. Normally it takes us about a month to get the visas, but I would really consider 3 to 4 months. So if they get them May, we want them over here by August, because we have an orientation that we provide our youth before we send them to the college orientations. And that's really vital to connect them with the older generation we have here, etc. But anyway, if that doesn't happen this year, that's fine. But so those are my 2 requests, is they consider sending the I-20s early, and that they consider giving us a leeway for when the kids arrive, possibly a few extra weeks.
Great comments, yeah, thank you. And I do, there's several comments coming through from the university side that are university representatives saying that this will not impact admissions decisions. So I think that I could jump to guess to say that universities likely are interested and want to encourage these students from coming, and the issues will be on the visa side. And so anything that universities can do to expedite the visa process. of course, from those 7 countries, and that if that countries expand, that admission, the visa process is what's going to cause the challenges, and most likely not on the university side. And so as things cool off, it may take longer, but remember, it is only a relatively small portion that are right now. In all other countries, we can only hope that the visas will still be processed, and I-20s will be part of that. So that's a good thought, and ways that universities can perhaps move things along quickly. And again, universities, I'm sure many will have capacity to admit and to accept students later into the fall or into the January cycle. Let me jump over to here to the panelists. If there's, looks like Wonka, I see your hand is raised. Wonka, I'm going to unmute you. You're live. Go ahead, Wonka.
Good morning from Boca Raton, Florida. Juan Camilo Tamayo, Government Relations Vice President. First of all, I want to thank our panelists for jumping in so quickly. This is an action, as Mega said, present solutions. This is one of the first solutions, getting us together to talk about it. Also to say thank you to all the participants this morning, the Government Relations Committee colleagues. They've been working around the clock for the last 3 days, checking things from Washington and passing information. So I want to thank my colleagues, and also our NACAC colleagues from Government Relations and the whole office, Michael Ruse, Lindsay, and Liz. Thank you so much for sharing all that information so quickly. As I mentioned through my question, Advocacy Day in Washington, D.C. is coming up March 5th and 6th. This is the 3rd year that I will be attending. The first year, I didn't know what I was actually doing there, but when I arrived, NACAC did a great job, kind of mock you in terms of preparing you to visit your congressmen, congresswomen. So kudos to NACAC. They bring a speaker. It is an amazing conference that I don't know, Lindsay's there and Liz, but probably the audience this year will be huge. You are welcome to come. If you have any questions, please let me know. We have the links. We can share those links as well for registration, but pretty much what we do, I'm based in Florida, so I can go directly as a U.S. citizen. I go directly to the congressmen, Bill Nelson and Marco Rubio. Even though I don't speak to them, you speak to a staffer, which is eventually more powerful than the congressmen or congresswomen. They get to know you for 15 minutes and let them know what your priorities are. NACAC puts a really nice agenda for you. They train you, and you go with a group of colleagues from other regions, whether you go to New York, you go to Massachusetts, you go to California. But it's just to let them know that we are up there, that we're a voice. And this is an action, as Megan said. What are we doing? We got to go to the Capitol Hill and let them know that we're concerned, that we're opposed from both sides of the aisles. We need their help, and that's how you start rocking this boat. I've been having conversations with the students, my own students. I'm an independent counselor, for those of you that don't know a lot about me. There are also concerns in Latin America, beyond Mexico, Colombia and Venezuela particularly. And there is something fictional of factual. People are really concerned as students and parents. I have a student who is a junior that is freaking out. There is a lot of communication and misinformation going around. So I told the student, I've been telling the parents as well, we got to take it day by day. The first thing that we got to do is do not panic. This is kind of the shake wave effect that the new leadership is trying to do around the world, and they're looking at us like how we react to this shake wave. So we just got to be calm. We got to put our heads together. We got to go day by day and bring solutions into the table, like the ones that we have right now at the moment, doing the webinar, putting solutions, Advocacy Day, and so forth. So I'll be meeting with actually my committee as we finish the webinar. My committee jumps in, and we're going to take all of these questions, your concerns, and we're going to keep working as a committee to continue the communication with all of you, with the membership. But we're there, and my advice is day by day. Universities are doing an amazing job. International offices are just on it. We have seen communications from all over the country, so support from the Canadians, support from the Australians, support from all over the world. So I think day by day, and you guys are welcome to attend advocacy legislative conference in Washington. I believe there is a deadline coming up, but we can perhaps twist our friends at NACAC, and the more the better. That's what it is. So thank you, panelists, for coming through this morning.
Great to hear from you, Juanca.
So just to emphasize
ahead,
from Juan's comment, if it wasn't crystal clear, any U.S. citizen who's a member of this organization is welcome to go to D.C. on March 5th and 6th to meet with congressional representatives and their staffers to advocate for policies like taking this away that you might feel strongly about. So that is an open opportunity, unfortunately, is only available to our U.S. citizens. But if you want to take that trip to DC, or if you're in the area and can get there, Juan's committee has more information. So mark your calendars.
All right, recognizing that we're about 2 minutes to the hour here, and I suspect we'll be able to go over a little bit, but also know that people's time is important. I just want to read a couple more comments that are coming into the question board here, and a couple of them around visas and I-20s, which I think are helpful. One is a question about, are there any real-time online resources for U.S. visa updates? And I don't know if there are, but with Juanca's help and Education USA's help, if there are any, we'll find those. And that is a good question that has come up multiple times here. We'll try to see if we can find something, link something on our website. John Burdick made a comment in regards to the importance of the I-20s, as we heard earlier, and moving that process along. He's noted here, we've noted that the timetable for setting tuition and fees is a barrier issue, so we will attempt to accelerate the Board of Trustees budget review and tuition setting. So this year, amongst more than ever, is to move that visa process along, and whatever universities can do to expedite the I-20 process, we can only imagine that will be perhaps a small help in this issue. And it looks like Jamie Kanke has mentioned that you can see the visa wait times online, so that's great. Maybe, Jamie, you can be in touch with us. I'm sure that's something we can then post online. And so wherever country or university or citizenship you might be working through, finding a way to reference that and keep that in the mind of students when they're leading up to that time where they do need to start applying for visas, and thinking about how realistic it may be for them to get their visa in time for September or January. There we go. We've got lots of travel.state.gov, and on that you'll find general wait times for visas is the website. So we'll link that website on ours as well. So it is now 6 a.m. here in Vancouver. I don't know what the heck time it is wherever you're coming from, but it is the top of the hour. We have reached our the forum time, and so what we'll do here is bring this to a close. We'll take a couple more questions here. Otherwise, is there anyone else who wants to raise their hand that's on the forum, that's in the community, want to make any other comments? Panelists, anyone want to comment, make any other comments, panelists?
Yes, please.
I'm going to say one thing very quickly. Just following up with what Juan mentioned, I think the whole one thing at a time, moving forward, staying positive is very important. And to comment on that from the counselor end of things, obviously when we heard some of this information coming out and we had students that were affected and of concern, you know, I will have to go and say things are quite more available and efficient or convenient in Korea, in the sense that we were able to reach out to the local embassies that we have here in country. Frankly, they didn't provide a lot of information that we didn't already know or eventually get to know, but reaching out to those embassies specifically, or having the students reach out to those embassies, it did provide a lot of comfort and ease from anxiety, knowing that we were able to express our concerns, and that was kind of all it was able to go and accomplish for some places. And other places, they were able to give us some feedback. It seems like they were able to give us some information sooner than we were able to hear them elsewhere. So if that resource is available, that has proved to us of help. And so just knowing that we are an institution that is of interest to get that information out to them was enough to go ahead and ease some anxiety, but also letting them know that hopefully they can get us that information sooner as well. That would be really helpful. So just one thing I wanted to mention.
Thanks, Wilson.
Okay, and finally, if I could just say just a couple of things as well from where we're going to move along from this conversation, because quite clearly there are many unanswered questions, and I dare say I can't see the hands up on my screen, but I'm sure there are a lot of people who posted questions that maybe have similar themes or they'd like answers to. So what I'd ask you to do, and what Wilson and I are going to spend our time doing over the next few days, is collating these questions, trying to make sure that they are put into a format that can be easily consumed and read by the people that they are directed towards, notwithstanding all we've said about biding time and patience and wait and see. But all the same, that's one, we think, one very, hopefully a helpful action that might come from this. And in addition to that, I just wanted to let you know that there's going to be a regional subcommittee survey coming to all the members of International ACAC for further suggestions about how we might be supporting you within regions. This is quite clearly a special case, perhaps a special interest group that we need to look to support in a particular way. And within that region, we will be trying to see if we can find any people that could advocate particularly or represent particularly the needs of these people affected by the ban right now. But really, we consider there'll be these issues across many regions, not specific to this topic now, but there will be issues across many regions that can be brought together and discussed by forums, whether it's web forums, just like this. So we're looking forward to being able to support you much more in the future. And importantly, there are lots of things that the International ACAC would like to be able to do for their membership. But I think one of the greatest strengths of this organisation is that the membership themselves can inform International ACAC about what their needs are, and perhaps pass that information on to the other side of the desk, whichever that may be. So if we can use this launch really for those regional subcommittees, we think we can help you a lot more within those zones. So that's all I have for now. Thank you, Aaron.
Well, and thank you, everyone. Thank you, panelists. Appreciate those that have attended this session today, wherever you may be, whatever time it might be. This session has been recorded, and please do let us know if this format worked for you. This format of taking comments and questions by audio, by written text. We can look for doing a similar format like this, open forum like this, into the future, and do, of course, be continuing to check internationalacac.org for references and for resources. But for now, this is Aaron Anderson, and on behalf of the panelists, we wish you a good evening, good morning, good afternoon, and the sun will rise. No matter where you are, the sun will rise, as I say. So that's all. Keep positive as much as we can. Thank you for joining us, and this is the end of the session, but not the end of all things. Have a great rest of your day, and goodbye.